Today is December 14, 2022. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, I saw in the news that Suffolk University and USA Today have released the results of a new opinion poll regarding presidential politics. So here we are, we're past the midterms now, so the race is on to the White House, which is crazy because we're still 2 years away. But regardless, it's the nature of the beast in American politics now. In the survey, Ron DeSantis would beat Joe Biden, if the election were held today, would beat Joe Biden 46 to 42%. Now, so the same question was asked by inserting Donald Trump's name instead of DeSantis. Well, this time, Biden would beat Trump 47 to 39%. So by a wider margin, Trump would lose. So it makes you wonder, about the whole race for the White House for the GOP. Now it's true, we don't know for a fact if Biden's even going to run, but he says he is. So we have to kind of take him at his word that he will be the nominee in 2024. But for Republicans, I'm not necessarily all that concerned about who is going to be the nominee, as long as, when all the dust is settled, that we're going to have a pro-life candidate who can win. And to me, that's the bottom line. We want somebody who can win. And I'm a little worried about Trump in that winning category, because for many, many people, his name has become very toxic to a lot of independent voters who we need if we're going to beat Biden. I think back to 2008, John McCain was the GOP nominee. And I kind of felt that he really, really wanted to get the nomination. But then I don't think he fought to the death to to win the election, to win the White House. He just seemed to revel in the fact that he was going to be the nominee, but he didn't necessarily was concerned about winning. I want a winner. I want a candidate, a pro-life candidate who will be victorious in 2024. And I'm not necessarily concerned about who that person will be. I just want that person to win. Okay. I saw this earlier this month. The Associate Attorney General, a woman named Vanetta Gupta, and here again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing her name. She spoke at the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division's 65th anniversary. So at this gathering or assembly, she had some candid remarks about the Dobbs decision from this past year. And she said that the Dobbs decision was a devastating blow to America's women. And here this is in quotes, that it increased the urgency to accelerate the enforcement of the FACE Act. So what, pray tell, is the FACE Act? FACE Act is an acronym that stands for the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act. Passed in 1994 during the Bill Clinton years. It was a response, for the most part, to what was happening with Operation Rescue. These activists would get right in front of the doors of abortion clinics. They would lay flat, lay prone, and police would be called in and physically have to carry these people away, and they were arrested by the hundreds and thousands. And it's hard to say how effective Operation Rescue really was, because the clinic may have been closed for a day or two, but then they reopened, and abortions resumed as if nothing happened. But anyway, this legislation was enacted, signed by Bill Clinton, that made it a federal crime to block the entrances to abortion clinics. Well, Fast forward now to 2022, and the Justice Department has gone after pro-life activists who are picketing at abortion clinics. And they have, I think I've read 22 pro-lifers have been arrested this year, and they've been accused of violating the FACE Act. And if they are convicted of it, they could possibly get an 11-year prison term and like a $300,000 fine for violating the act. Well, it's just, pro-lifers are being targeted. There's just no getting around it. We are being targeted, and these people have not violated this law. And in most instances, at best, they were accused of like maybe trespassing, minor fines, or any charge against them had been dismissed by a lower court. And then a year later, the Justice Department comes along and throws this FACE Act accusation against them, and with this potential 11-year prison term. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I also read too that since May, so what happened in May? That was when Justice Sam Alito's first draft opinion on the Dobbs case was leaked. It wasn't the final opinion, but it was his first draft. Well, it was leaked in May, and starting in May, pro-abortion zealots began targeting Catholic churches and pregnancy care centers and pro-life groups all over the country. And in the article I read said that since May, 98 Catholic churches and 77 pregnancy care centers have been targets of varying degrees of vandalism. From spray painted graffiti on walls to throwing cans of paint on doors or on windows, or broken windows, or fire bombings. So there are varying degrees of violence or vandalism. But since May, not one single person has been arrested or even accused of committing these crimes. So this lady, this Ms. Gupta, she's pretty clear that there's an urgency to go after pro-lifers, and the Justice Department is doing nothing to protect pro-life buildings or organizations from these targeted pro-abortion zealots who are defacing pro-life buildings. So shame on the Justice Department for failing to do its job. Lady Justice, as we all remember, is blind. She's holding these scales, but she's blindfolded because it's best to indicate that she's supposed to she's supposed to protect the innocent and go after the lawbreaker, whether the lawbreaker is a billionaire or a pauper. If you've committed the crime, you do the time. And the justice and Lady Justice is supposed to be blind. Well, the Biden Justice Department lady is not blind. She's going after pro-lifers like crazy. Okay. Last item today is it's an item that I saw several weeks ago but have not commented on. So it's about time I did. It's a story that comes from Detroit. And it says that back in November, the Detroit Board of Education voted to remove Ben Carson's name from the Ben Carson High School of Science and Medicine. So several years ago, Ben Carson was honored for his decades-long medical career as a pediatric neurosurgeon, and he was honored by the name of high school after the guy. So we know who Ben Carson is. Born in poverty to a single mom in Detroit, grew up in abject poverty, was one of the poorest academically challenged students in his elementary school. But then his mom concluded that he needed to stop watching TV and start reading books. So he went to the public library, brought home some books, and he was commanded by his mom to read a book and do a book report and give her the report. So every week, a new book, a new report. And what's amazing is that she was illiterate. She could not read, but he gave her the report anyway, and she filed it away. And over time, he developed a love, a passion for reading. And as his reading improved, so did his grades. And by the time he finished his senior year of high school, he was the valedictorian. So what a change from his elementary years. Went on to get a full ride scholarship to Yale, did very well there, he was accepted into the U of M medical school in Ann Arbor, became a physician. And then after he got his degree, he got a position at Johns Hopkins University, I think at their hospital. And he was a professor of surgery at the university and was there for 30 years, became one of the most renowned pediatric neurosurgeons in the country, in the world. And then he was tapped to become a member of the Trump administration. So why did the Detroit Public School all of a sudden dislike Ben Carson, one of their own, homegrown Detroiter? Well, I can see 4 reasons. One is he is a black conservative. And, in liberal Detroit, you have to be a liberal, not a conservative. And 2, he was a black Republican. Well, in Detroit, you win elections about 95% if you're the Democrat and 5% Republican. So he's on the outs because he's a Republican. And 3rd is his name was associated with that evil Donald Trump. So obviously, if you're a member of the school board who hates Donald Trump, just the thought of Donald Trump, if you are associated or connected with him in his administration, you are anathema. And then 4th, Ben Carson is a pro-life Christian. And if you're a black liberal, you are in bed with Planned Parenthood. And Ben Carson just fails on every level for this group. So his name has been removed from this high school. And even the faculty and the students, some of the students at the school have protested having his name removed. But that's not going to happen in this day and age because we have cancel culture run amok, and Ben Carson is now on the outs, and cancel culture has succeeded in removing his name. But praise God that Ben Carson has stood tall and on his principles as a conservative, as a Christian, defending the sanctity of human life. So with that, I'll let you go, and I will see you next time.